What's up, everybody? Mark with Kardavox Academy here, and today we're checking out the new Whitechapel. Without you, without us. I think that's how you say it. It's got a slash in the middle, but I'm not phased. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I am a metal vocalist myself. Been doing metal vocals for roughly 14 years. I don't remember exactly when it started, but it was right around there. I am in a metal band myself. The band is called Kardavox. Been doing vocals for them since the beginning. We're on Metal Blade Records, and it's a lot of fun. Check out Liminal Right on Spotify if you want to. I'm also a full-time vocal coach, metal vocal coach predominantly. I teach people how to make all sorts of crazy sounds, stuff like and safely and efficiently for years to come. And that's my full-time gig. And so I take the reaction format here. I break it down. I focus on metal vocals. I pause. I talk about technique. I'll tell you what they're doing or what I would do. Or if I'm not quite sure, I'll give you my best. Guess, because I know a lot, but I don't know everything. Right? Nobody knows everything. Don't be tricked. But anyways, if you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot watching the channel grow. If you learned something new, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in one-on-one lessons, we are pretty booked up, but send me an email anyway. You can learn more about them at kardavoxacademy.com. And yeah, we've also got an e-course, False Chord Fundamentals. It's one of many courses that are coming out. I will absolutely be strategically dropping it throughout the video because, you know, it's my channel. I do what I want. That's all I got. That's all I got. I'm feeling cheeky because I kind of have to rush this video because my son's going to bed here in like 30 minutes and he sleeps on the other side of that curtain. So let's go ahead. Let's go. Let's check out Whitechapel, Without You, Without Us. Here we go. Okay.
But this is not real, we're not here. Don't you understand that we've already lost one another? Please accept reality so I can finally be free.
So I'm gonna pause right there because I've let the song go on for a long time. That's not good for the old copyright game. Anyway, so this is not at all what I expected. Not at all what I expected in any way. I'm really enjoying it, however. And I'm enjoying the surprises. So as some of you know, not too long ago, we had a vocal competition here on the channel, and Phil was one of our guest judges. He helped listen to all the entries, and his and a bunch of other vocalists who were guest judges, they all kind of cast their vote, and that's how we got our winner, right? After one of our streams, he showed me and my business partner Quigs and a couple other people some of the new Whitechapel, and it was not this. It was some heavy, I mean, that like, like that was incredibly heavy. The stuff he showed me nearly knocked my teeth out, but this is cool too, because, you know, I know on Instagram he's been talking a lot about them going back to their roots and such, but I'm glad they're not like completely getting away from like the vibe that kind of came through in the Valley and things like that. So I want to talk about his singing voice because that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about vocals. Now, even though I predominantly do and teach harsh vocals, I do teach clean vocals sometimes, and I sing a lot in Kardashev. So one thing I really like about Phil's voice is that he plays it close to the chest, and I mean that very literally. Right? He rocks that chest voice very, very, very well. Now, if you're not sure what chest voice is, I know a lot of people don't know. That's what we're here for, right? Chest voice is a term that we use to describe our speaking voice, right? You can kind of feel your chest. I'm testing out a lav mic today, so I got to be careful where I put my hands. I'm going to see if I can switch to that versus this. But if you take your hand and you put it on your chest and you go poo, 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 you'll feel vibration in your chest, right? And now if you go pew, 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 that vibration will be entirely or predominantly gone, right? So chest voice is describing a vocal register that exists in this space, right? Close to our speaking voice. Now, I don't remember the melody, right? That's the downside of these first time reactions. But what he's doing is he's rocking a very breathy, very, very light, very, very low pressure voice. Very cool. I'm not sure how it fits into the storytelling just yet, but it sounds very contemplative. One way, I'm sure he's going to sing this again, so I'll maybe repeat the melody later. But one way we can work on that, right, is to sort of just speak softly, right? Just sort of speak softly. So if I'm here, I think he said it's not real, but if I'm here and I'm like, hey everybody, Mark with Kardavox Academy. This is not real, not real. Right? What I'm doing is I'm basically just speaking softly. Now, one thing we have to be careful of when we're singing with a slightly breathier voice is sometimes things like whispering or adding extra air through our vocal cords can cause some strain and damage, right? That can come from drying out. That can come from actually a little bit of muscle tension. So we want to make sure that even when we're doing this, we're making sure that we're utilizing our breath support to How's that for a vaguism? We want to make sure that we are adding pressure properly to our voice, right? So when we breathe in, we expand our abdominal muscles, our ribs expand. When we vocalize, there's going to be a gentle activation of our abdominal muscles. And one way that we can kind of make sure that we're on the right track is we can sort of hum into the front of our face. Straw exercises are good too, right? But we can hum into the front of our face, like you ate something delicious, and you can do mild little crescendos, mild little glissandos, and you can feel the sensation in the front of your face. If you feel the vibration increasing, right, and your throat feels entirely relaxed, you're on the right track, right? So that's a good little warm up you can do. That's a really good one you can do. Now, if you're interested in more warm-ups on KardavoxAcademy.com, we do have a free warm-up course that you can check out. But let's keep going here because we're almost halfway through the song and nothing's going as I thought it would. But it's really nice. I'm loving that acoustic vibe. I'm loving, wow, I was about to say spicy hot take. I like how they're doing metal right now. I'll put it to you that way. Here we go. Man, that transition back into that chuggy riff is awesome. Now let's talk metal vocals because that's my shit. That's what I do, right? So I want to talk about a couple things. Actually, I think this is the first time I've ever done this, but I'm going to talk about these vocals that we heard from the perspective of, now this isn't just my idea, right? But this is kind of the methodology that I use, right? When we think about the voice, we want to think about it through three pillars, right? Or three levers. Right? Imagine you're in a Gundam, right? And you're controlling that Gundam with three levers. And those levers are your breath support, which is how we control the air, right? Your phonation, which is the thing that's moving to create the sound. Now, somebody who's into linguistics or stuff, they might be like, that is too simple. Phonation is the generation of speech sounds. And it's like, hold on, just chill out for a second, right? We're speaking simply for the context of understanding here. So, phonation is going to be what's rattling, what's moving to make sound, be it, or right? And then resonance, which is where that sound is living and how it's behaving in the vocal cavity, right? The vocal tract, I should say. So I want to start from the bottom, right? Literally from the bottom. One thing that I've been running into with a lot of my students, it's interesting how things just sort of line up, is the generation of even and steady airflow without excess pressure underneath the vocal cords or whatever mechanism you're using to distort, right? Because we use the false cords, we use the arytenoids, we use the aryepiglottic folds, we use all of these tissues. And we need to, oftentimes when we're creating distortion, we need to lean into something, right? We need to lean into something. We have to press against something. But one of the biggest things that can cause you some pain and strain is subglottal pressure, pressure underneath your vocal cords, right? We don't want that. So when we're creating a vocalization like this, right, which we can call, we can kind of think of this as a compressed false chord, right? Some people would call this an arytenoid. Some people would call this a compressed false chord. I just did the rounds on the internet for what terms people are using these days, and good Lord, even I can't keep it straight because I feel like every month something's a new something, right? I would call this a compressed false chord, and the compression is coming from the arytenoids and the aryepiglottic folds narrowing over the airway, right? Now, we want to make sure that we are leaning into that closure, that properly. So how do we do that, right? Well, first of all, I'm not going to talk about the inhale. If you're interested in proper inhaling for singing or screaming, you can check out False Chord Fundamentals on KardavoxAcademy.com. There's a whole module about breathing there. But I am going to talk about how we utilize the airflow, right? So I'm actually going to drop my desk here real quick. Give me a second. So this is kind of why I want to try the lav mic, because now the audio is going to be different because I'm moving away from this. So Dungeon Craft, represent. So one thing I'd like you to notice is that when I breathe in, let me turn towards the camera. When I breathe in, you're going to see some expansion here. The expansion is going to be pretty relaxed. My ribs go out. Notice how my chest stays pretty neutral. You're also going to see that my belly goes out. Now, one thing you at home, you might breathe in. You might be trying this along with me, which I actually absolutely do, right? And you might be like, man, I'm not getting as much expansion as Mark. Well, something to consider is that I'm fat, right? So I kind of telegraph the movement, right? So if you're like a smaller framed person, you might not see as much expansion as me. That doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it wrong. You can feel the expansion, right? So I'm going to put my hand over the logo here. Going to put my hand over on my obliques underneath my ribs. You're going to see expansion here. Check it out. Nice. One of the best ways to think about this is like, One of the best ways to think about this is like taking a relaxed breath on vacation. Like I'm going to be going to Germany to check out Euroblast here in a couple weeks. And I know that when I'm in like a bakery or like I can smell a bunch of like delicious beer or something, I'm just going to take a nice deep breath. I'm going to go. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the inhale, but I kind of have to a little bit, right? So let's talk about using this air now, right? I'm only filling up to like the sensation of 60%. I don't have to go too crazy. I know it's weird not being able to see my face, but this is the point right now anyway. So y'all be fine. Besides, like, come on. You ain't missing much. Anyway, so one thing I want you to do if you're at home, this is something I do with my students a lot, is I want you to put your finger up like this. Okay, so you're going to take this relaxed breath in. You're going to put your finger up like this, and you're going to blow past it like you're blowing up a balloon or a pool toy. You can see here the squeeze going on around this space. Like if I was wearing an old school WWE wrestling championship belt, right? It would be here, right? Now, you're probably squeezing more than you'll actually need to for most screams, but if you feel like downward activation and activation on the sides, maybe even some downward sensation on your pelvic floor, like you're taking a poop, right? There's a reason Melissa Cross called it the dump, right? That's a good sign. Now my ribs are staying out. My ribs are not necessarily moving. Check this out. Those are staying out. This right here is going to be one of the main things generating for you a steady airflow, right? Now, one exercise that we've all seen and that we all know, right, because it's a classic, is the holding out of an S tone, right? You'll notice that when you breathe properly and when you utilize the sensation that we just learned, whoops, wrong way. When you utilize the sensation that we just learned from the, right, you'll notice you're going to have a really even airflow. Very, very even. We want to make sure that when we're doing this, blowing past the finger, making this S noise, right? We want to make sure that we feel little to no pressure in our throat. If we feel pressure in our throat, like muscular squeeze type of pressure, then we're compensating in a way that we don't need to. Okay, so you can also think about like shooting spit wads, right? Like I'm in school, shooting spit wads. Another one is biting your fingernail and spitting it on the carpet. Don't do that, right? That's how you get your wife mad at you. Not that I know from experience at all. I'm kidding. I don't do that. I don't do that. That's yucky. So that's the utilization of the air, right? And now I know I'm talking a lot, but this is a vocal channel. So I said it once and I'll say it again. This channel's not Spotify. If you want to listen to the song uninterrupted, App Store, Spotify, download. You're welcome. Anyway, so next thing I want to talk about is the distortion I hear in this space, right? So we have, and there are multiple ways you can approach things, by the way. I've heard people mimic like Brian Garris, for example, Knocked Loose. They start with false chord and then lift into the space, or they start with fry and then they lift into the space. So I don't want you to get too caught up on mechanics. This is how I would make this sound, right? If I was in the booth and if somebody said, hey, Mark, make a sort of Whitechapel-y sounding mid, this is how I would approach it. And it's still going to sound like me, but it's going to be in the ballpark, okay? So what I would do is I would take my false chord, my loose, relaxed false chord. Right? Now that don't sound like him, but what if I narrow that airway a little bit with sort of like a slight tension at the back of my tongue? You only need a tiny little sprinkling. When I do that, I kind of sound like Kermit the Frog. Hey everybody, Kermit the Frog here. Now, when I'm doing this, the feeling of squeeze is almost not even there. I wouldn't notice it I wouldn't notice it if it weren't for the fact that I can hear the change that's happening to my voice and I'm paying attention to that squeeze, right? Very little. So I'm here. Hey, what's going on? When I try to false chord through that, right? So I'm going to go, listen to that. Now, I'm going to utilize that sensation of engaging the core, right? Now, this is one of those situations where more is not better. If your abs are getting tired in like 2 minutes, you're going to blast out your intestines. I don't know. You don't need to squeeze that hard. But I'm going to use this. Right? That's how I would approach this sound. Now, with the resonance, again, I know I've been talking for a while. With the resonance, I would keep it in the front. Nice and echoey. Now you have a tone that you could use, right? If you made it through that long speech, congratulations. You're a real one. Let's keep going. That was really cool. I'll keep this very brief because I know I just talked a lot. That was really interesting. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but at one point, I think he said the word fading and it got really bright. And one of the ways that you can brighten your voice is show your teeth, fading away. And he did that in the music video. So that's really cool. I don't know if that was just coincidence or whatever. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to get this sort of singing tone, or a way that you can approach, I should say, this singing tone. But let's let the song play a little more.
But this is not real, we're not here. Don't you understand that we both have to move on together? Without you, there's no me, there's no us, there's no family.
Okay, that guitar slide tells me it's a good place to pause. So I really like this conversation that now I'm just kind of putting things together with from the music video. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you're going to know that I'm kind of an idiot. Because I watched the Constance video, Spirit Box, and I was like, what's this about? But I mean, I love the back and forth dialogue. I love the lyrics and how they play into it. Very cool. Very, very cool. I forgot what I was going to say. Right. So this singing voice, right? it's not just about singing breathier and singing quieter, right? I mean, obviously that's kind of what we have here. I could sing, I could show you the world, or I could sing, I could show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid, right? It's not just singing quieter. And one of the things that I think is very important is that we lead by sensation and sound, right? So one way that you can find this tone is, imagine you're sitting with your friend at a restaurant or a bar, and your friend's ex walks in, right? Your friend's ex walks into the room. You don't want to cause a scene, man. I don't know. Was it a bad breakup, a good breakup? Who's to say? But you're talking to your friend, and then all of a sudden they walk in. So you're talking, you're like, yeah, man. So I hear the beer here is pretty good. Dude, you will not, hold it. Don't look. You will not guess who just walked in here. Seriously. 99% of the time, I haven't actually measured it, but it certainly seems like it. 99% of the time, when I'm working with my students trying to get that lower, lighter sound, this is what does it. It doesn't feel like you're expulsing more air, because it's not about just pushing air through the vocal cords. It's about the vocal cords actually meeting differently, right? It's a muscular movement, not necessarily just a shove air through movement. When we shove air through it, we sound like Luna Lovegood. I think this is kind of what she sounded like. Hello. And we don't want to sing like that. That would get really straining, and it would really dry out the vocal cords. So again, yeah, man, I hear the beer here is pretty good, and the roast beef sandwiches. Hey, oh, dude, you'll never guess who walked in. Yeah, dude, don't look. No, yeah. Oh no, she's Anyway, I was about to make a bunch of jokes I probably shouldn't make on the channel. Anyway, Who said that? Anyway, so that's one way that you can find this lighter voice. And then obviously, move it through your register. He's lifting up into that mixed space, right? He's lifting up into that sort of mixy, nice, heady space. Love to hear it. Let's go.
I'm alone again, just what I'm used to.
That's so sick how those Kamehameha blasts were going with the chugs. Dum, dum, dum. Phil's voice is sounding crispier too. I can't tell if that's just EQ, right? I mean, he's been doing vocals for such a long time. I can't tell if that's just like EQ and production on there, but it's sounding really crunchy. It's got that stepping on a bag of chips kind of crunch. And I really like it. I love the articulation. I love the wide open, perfectly it's almost as if the tone, this, I don't know if this is gonna make sense. It's almost as if the tone is like symmetrical, right? When you do a lot of like old school false chords, I say old school, but it's coming back. But when you do a lot of like the more open false chord sounds, the I collapse, so the bike's so green, right? When you do stuff like that, the distortion is like kind of like aperiodic. It's like click, click, right? You don't want it to be super clacky, but you understand what I'm saying, right? It's messy, it's dirty. Phil's distortion is so, and this is kind of characteristic of him, but I feel like it's really shining in this song. It's so crisp and it's so clean, right? It's like this. It's like somebody turned on the TV, and in the other room you have like this. TV static, right? Just this TV static going. Now, again, the way that you're going to do that is with really even airflow. One exercise that's super old school, been around forever, is blowing bubbles. Blowing bubbles in liquid, right? And keeping those bubbles steady. A good goal is to be, I'm not going to do it. A good goal is to be able to do like around 30 seconds. And literally you get yourself a straw, You fill it up with some water. You might want to have a little bit more than this, like a little bit more than this, like a third of the cup. For a variation, you can hum into the water. All of these things are going to help out not just your airflow, not just your control of the airflow, I should say, but your overall vocal balance, right? And it's a good way to help with vocal cord closure too. Like let's say maybe you're singing and you're accidentally, you're breathier than you want to be. You have trouble not being breathy. This is a good way to help with vocal cord closure. Anyway, let's keep going. This song is dope as hell. That was like when Aragorn killed the Uruk-hai. Spoilers. Whoa. Whoa. That mountain, I mean, so much of Whitechapel's content recently has been about like mountains and valleys, the valley and landscape, right? So I'm really interested what's going on there. That's wild. Random shout out, and then we're going to talk a little bit more vocals. Whoever, directed by David Brodsky and Ben Savage, and the cinematography team. So to all of you, I don't know who did like the stunts or whatever, but this is, again, a really random shout out, but when Phil fell back and hit the ground, that felt like a hard hit. Like that little bounce that was on the ground. Like, you know how sometimes people fall in music videos and it looks just like they're laying down fast? Like, nah, that looked like a serious like pop. And I felt that in my back. So last thing I want to point out, right? First and foremost, one thing that we think about when we think about metal vocals, especially if we're new, is the depth of the tone. Okay. Now, that can cause us to think that our scream has to come from our throat. And I guess technically it does, right? Because so much of what we use to distort is in the throat. It's those tissues above the vocal cords, right? Supraglottal tissues. Those come together or they stay loose and they rattle around. And a lot of screams utilize that, right? Even some fry screams utilize the tissues above, right? Don't even get me started. But, right? We don't want to be screaming down here. Now, what do I mean? This is kind of a resonance game thing. When I am singing, let's use Aladdin again, right? If I'm singing and I'm singing in a dull, dead, kind of like junky tone, right? I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess. You can hear that it's low down, and I'm actually already starting to feel a little bit of strain alongside of my larynx, right? Now, what if instead I think of my voice not coming out here, but I think of my voice being kind of frontal and nasal? With a lot of metal vocals, what we want to do is we want to be singing into the mask. Now, for those of you who are interested, we have a bone in our face. It's called the maxilla, and it is the bone that our teeth connect to. It's the hard palate. It goes up into the bridge of our nose. It's our cheekbone. And when we sing in such a way that that bone vibrates, right, we can feel that frontal masky resonance. We tend to, not always, because there could be other things going on, but we tend to be singing in a healthy way. Now, again, this is stylistic. That's not to say that it's the only way to resonate. And if you hear somebody resonating kind of up out of the back of their head, they're doing it wrong. Nope. They're just doing something different, right? So what does this sound like? Well, instead of I can show you the world, it's I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess. You can hear that it's brighter, right? And again, I'm very much a believer in that, unless you're just like super duper interested in like the mechanics of what's going on, most of us are going to lead by sound. I'm sorry, but lead by sensation and sound, right? Like for example, when I do something like this, I'm not thinking about like the tongue position. I know it. I could sit down and I could write it out for you, but I'm not thinking about the tongue position. I'm thinking about the way it feels. My brain has memorized how it feels for that to work and to sound, and then it takes that sensation, it slaps it to the front, and then the sound's created, right? That's some super technical, neuroscience right there. Anyway, so when we're aiming our scream here, hey, right there, one way that we can do it, or I should say when we're trying to aim our scream that way, is we can use, I call it the cat poo voice, or the hairball voice. Because imagine walking into your bedroom and you see like your cat like pooped or like did a hairball or coughed up a hairball on your pillow, right? You might go, yuck, when I do that, lots of vibration here. Very, very important. When a lot of people sing into their mask, they'll tend to squeeze their vocal cords together. You don't need to do that, right? The prime controller of resonance the prime controllers of resonance in our oral space is our tongue. So if I move my tongue, I moved my tongue up, I relaxed my larynx, boom, I had that frontal resonance. Now, what does this sound like for a scream, right? Let's find out. So I'm going to use this same, compressed false chord scream. I don't know. You call it whatever you want. I got a whole video I'm thinking about in my head about how I hate. They are useful. And we should care about them. But I also really just don't like metal vocal terms. I don't like vocal terms in general. I gotta know them. We should know them. But at the same time, I think people sometimes get into the weeds and you hear people talking about it and it's like, yo, can we just like do some metal vocals? You could call it a fucking pancake. I don't give a shit, right? Pancake vocals. Anyway, so if I'm here, I can't even really, that's hard to engage. Now, I don't think that sounds too bad as like a baseline tone, right? Obviously, I'd want to do some work with resonance, with tone and things to make it like something I would track. But it's just like a baseline tone. I don't think that sounds too terrible, but it feels terrible. I can tell that if I was to lean into that, it would really get sore very, very quickly. And that's the thing about harsh vocals is like, you can hurt yourself with them, right? Don't be afraid of it. You can hurt yourself driving down the street, but you should still learn to drive, right? So what if now instead I'm here? Hey. Sounds better, sounds brighter, sounds stronger. And then if I want to make it deep, I can open up the top, right? I can do some larynx work. It's okay, right? I know I'm on record saying like a couple years ago, I was like, don't drop your larynx. And what I meant was like, don't like shove. I got this piece of hair pissing me off. What I meant is don't shove your larynx down your throat. It's okay for your larynx to bob a little bit, right? But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the front of the face, right? I'm going to go, that's how I'm going to do it. Anyways, sorry, it's just been a while since I've done one of these reaction videos, so I'm excited. Anyways, if you enjoy Whitechapel, make sure to let them know. Go say some nice things to them in their comment section. You don't need me to tell you to do that, but I'm going to tell you to do it anyway. If you enjoyed the content, if you feel like you learned something, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate it very, very much. Again, if you're interested in one-on-one lessons or learning about how to use your voice, go to KardavoxAcademy.com. I am fully booked for quite a few months, but send us an email anyway, because sometimes spots open up, right? Sometimes I take on a couple more students just because I'm feeling froggy. But in the meantime, the False Chord Fundamentals course is a really great way to start, whether you're a brand new beginner and you want to learn how to do a bunch of those low, gurgly, nasty, disgusting vocals, or maybe you're new, or you're not new and you can do false chords, but something about them isn't sitting right. It's a great way to review your process. And by the way, false chords, they're not just limited to lows. You can you can lead them. You can use them to get into nice screams. So they're very versatile. That being said, thank you for watching. 40 minutes. I'm excited for the couple people who are like, oh, you pause too much. Back button, homie. Many thanks, much love. I'm out. What we're going to do is we're going to break it down into 3 pillars. And let's learn how to do stuff, you know, so we can turn it into. Your diaphragm is an umbrella or parachute-shaped muscle that separates your chest cavity from your abdominal cavity. First, the vocal folds close over the airway. Your vocal folds are right behind that big. Your voice as an instrument is a big organic resonator, So first, what are the false cords? Where are they? What do they do? Well, your false cords or vestibular folds are ligaments that sit up. When I do that, you can hear that when my feet hit the ground, the scream, or the growl at this point, amplifies. It gets big. Big gallon jug, low note. The sound waves are bouncing around inside that jug, and they have room to spread out. There's more space between the crusts.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for coming out to my show today. I'm really pleased. I will not first.
Now let's talk about some of the more common complaints that you hear from metal vocalists. Well, as I've stated multiple times in the course, screaming does not hurt when done properly, and it does not affect your speaking or singing voice either. Another thing you might be doing is dropping or lifting your larynx more than you need. One thing I've said throughout this course is that we don't want to drop or lift our larynx to create our tone, and that's true. Another reason you might be feeling pain is if you're swallowing your resonance, right? This is why forward resonance is so important. This is a key, resonance, guys. And that's it. That's false chord fundamentals. It's pretty straightforward. It's a sound that our bodies are designed to create, and if you focus, follow the instruction here, and keep it simple, you'll be able to create these sounds safely and efficiently for years to come. But for now, thank you so much for letting me help you on your false chord journey. It takes time, it takes patience, but I know you can do it. And as always, many thanks, much love, I'm out.